Zack Snyder's Justice League is upon us, and wow, is it something. Fans have been waiting years for this, championing the demand for Zack Snyder's version of the film to get its due. It started with a petition, an organized banner flyby at 2019's SDCC, and from there a hashtag that only grew, with even various cast members from the film supporting it. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. I have to admit, I was apprehensive when I heard that we'd actually be getting the Snyder Cut after the flop of the 2017 theatrical release of Justice League. And yet, I have to admit, I was pleasantly surprised. Today we'll be talking about some of the major differences between the theatrical 2017 release and the 2021 Zack Snyder Cut edition as we count down the top 10 Justice League Snyder Cut biggest differences. Now, I have done my best to keep this list spoiler free for all of you in case you haven't found, the 4 hours to sit down and watch the film yet, which is divided up, by the way, into 6 parts, especially when it comes to major spoilers that hadn't made the news prior to release of the film. So if you haven't seen Zack Snyder's Justice League yet, don't worry, it should be pretty safe to proceed into this list. I didn't get into the nitty gritty for you, trying to make it, friendly for everybody. And if you have watched the film and you do want to get into the nitty gritty, I will see you in the comments or the spoiler section of Twitter mayhaps, where I feel like we'll all be today. Alright, now let's get counting. Number 10, the opening. The opening scene in and of itself sets a completely different tone for the film. I am trying to do this list, as I said, without any major spoilers, but I will say what goes on there really leads into the rest of the story a lot more cohesively and makes it feel like straight out of the gate the stakes are just higher in comparison to the original cut of the film. It's a reminder of what we've lost and a warning of the darkness to come, instead of starting with an idea of lost hope like the original film did with, that shaky video of Superman and those kids. Oh my. This version hints more darkly at what we have left to lose, focusing on that danger and the shift into the preparation to fight against incoming enemies. The entire tone of the film, to be honest, just feels more dark and more desperate, and when we are dealing with an incoming threat so great, it just seems to fit a lot better with the story being told. Number 9, the aspect ratio. Even down to the visuals, the Snyder Cut version of Justice League is very different in comparison to the initial release of the film. Snyder himself became a fan of the full-frame look while shooting certain scenes for Batman vs Superman in this ratio for IMAX, and it seems this love has carried on over to the Snyder Cut, which will make use of the same ratio of 1.33 to 1 as opposed to the initial 1.66 to 1 aspect ratio. Number 8, Superman's black suit. Zack Snyder's Justice League was meant to have a darker tone initially, which is what we see it return to here, giving us a less saturated and kind of more macabre look for the whole film. Adding to this is a suit we have long been hoping to see make its way into the films: Superman's black suit. Superman's black suit is inspired by the Death of Superman storyline, which makes sense here given that we saw Superman defeated at the hands of Doomsday previous to Justice League. Not only does it give Superman a darker look when he returns from the dead, but it also serves a purpose in the comics, as it helps Superman to bolster his strength by absorbing more solar energy, hence why it's, a dark suit. Number 7, Vulko's introduction. Initially there were a few characters we were meant to meet prior to Aquaman in Justice League, but some of these appearances were cut down and some were cut entirely. Vulko was one such appearance that got cut. Quick refresh, Vulko is the chief counselor to the throne in Atlantis, but also in secret mentors Arthur Curry, preparing him to ascend to the throne as is his birthright. Vulko in the DCEU is played by Willem Dafoe, and any film that gives me more Willem Dafoe is alright in my books. I really loved him as Vulko, and I think the prior introduction to the character before Aquaman makes a lot of sense. Granted, now it's after Aquaman, but still, it was a good idea, especially considering how dense Aquaman is when it comes to introducing us to new characters, and of course, a whole political climate besides. The intro scene with him additionally grants us extra insight into Aquaman's character, developing him in a way that allows us to understand him and his struggles a lot more clearly in comparison to the original release of Justice League. Aquaman as a film had a lot of exposition heavy lifting to do, so having Vulko in Justice League was evidently meant to ease us into the whole world a bit more gently, and for that, it really works. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are enjoying this list and you want to hear us talk more about the Snyder Cut, because trust me, I got a lot more to say, feel free to give this video a thumbs up. Let us know that you like it. Number 6, the Joker. I mean, I feel like I could just do a whole list on all the character changes and additions that were made to the Snyder Cut Justice League versus the original theatrical release. There are just so many. The Joker is just one of the many additional characters who appears in this version of the film, but who did not make any appearance in the original. Snyder said that he had plans for an interaction between Batman and Joker down the line, and to honor both portrayals of these characters, he wanted to give the iconic villain and hero duo a chance to share at least one scene together. Which means, yes, we get to see the return of Jared Leto's Joker, spouting lines of meme fame and sporting an entirely different look. So, not quite the same one that you saw in Suicide Squad, my friends. Number 5. Batman uses guns? In the nightmare reality, at least. This is the reality where the aforementioned scene between Joker and Batman takes place, and it was hinted at we'd even learn the meaning behind the Joker card that Batman kept on his gun. Here, Batman and Joker are less rivals and more colleagues in the dystopian future where Superman ends up joining Darkseid, and the world is basically like a Mad Max-inspired dusty hell landscape. In this reality, which was also shown in Batman's visions in Batman v Superman, we additionally see Batman wielding guns. Very shocking in comparison to what we saw in the original Justice League, where we didn't even get a glimpse of the nightmare reality at all, and maybe shocking as well for those who think of Batman as exclusively anti-gun or, anti-killing, despite his original, much darker origins in the comics. If you're shocked by him using guns, you should go back a bit in the comics, because that's a thing. It happened. Number 4. Darkseid. Darkseid was originally intended to be the main villain for the Justice League film, but kinda ended up on the cutting room floor when Joss Whedon took over. But Darkseid is back, baby, in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. Oh boy. Returning as the big bad Snyder had always intended him to be. I think Darkseid has been the change most fans have been excited to see, as Steppenwolf never really felt like an epic enough foe in comparison. And it also felt like instead we were getting a Darkseid tease, which of course never really amounted to anything, as Justice League was the film that pretty much killed the franchise, or at least splintered it into like 1,000 separate worlds and pieces. Number 3. Revamped Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf had an interesting look in the first Justice League, and now he's back with a different but kinda equally interesting look. I do like his armor though, I gotta say. It's very sharp and shiny. And of course, we still get a decent look at Steppenwolf's beautiful face, albeit a little bit less of it. Here, Steppenwolf also seems to have less of a nose, and is it weird that I've also observed that he seems to have a smaller waist? Am I the only one that noticed that? Or maybe it's just his new, more figure-flattering armor making it appear that way to me. I do like the new design of his armor quite a bit, as it makes him look far more deadly and monstrous, and the way he uses it in battle, it's beautiful, giving him just this more foreboding presence that he deserves. It also sounds as though they made some changes to Steppenwolf's voice as well. Obviously it's still Kieran Hines' voice, but they made him sound a little more demonic, more gravelly, and with a little more of a darker resonance in his voice. He just overall feels more intimidating in this version of the film. Number 2. Cyborg's Redemption. Wow, okay, so I loved this deep exploration of Cyborg, aka Vic Stone's character, so much more than the original. We get to learn a lot more about Cyborg and his past this time around. And no spoilers, but you might want to have some tissues at the ready, as it gets emotional at parts. I was crying, it's so good. We get to learn not just about Vic's past, but also about his potential future, as we see just how great his power and thus his responsibility is. I also love that we get some hero moments with Cyborg, like, thank you. There is so much missing from the first film when it comes to our understanding of Vic Stone, and the Zack Snyder cut does a great job of filling in these missing pieces and establishing the character as the powerhouse that fans know and expect him to be when it comes to his live action film adaptation. Just, if you love Cyborg, you need to watch this cut. I'm just saying, if you're a Cyborg fan, you gotta watch this, it's so good. Number 1. The runtime. Initially, when Zack Snyder showed off his then seemingly mythical version of the film, we weren't sure at the point, does it exist, does it not, which was pictured in a film canister, we were led to believe it had a 214-minute runtime, and would stay that way, because we're like, well, it's there, it exists, it's probably not gonna get touched a lot. However, our previously fabled cut was then greenlit to become a released reality, and it wasn't just slated to be released as is. Oh no. Snyder had more to say and more to add, and so reshoots began and scenes were added in. And you can definitely tell they had a lot of extra footage, I think, as well, giving us an added 28 minutes total of footage from that initial estimated 214-minute runtime. Now, compared to the original Justice League film, Zack Snyder's version is double the length. Double the length. Film. We're talking about films, friends. Get your minds out of the gutter. With Justice League having a runtime of 2 hours and Zack Snyder's cut coming in at just over 4 hours. 4 hours and 2 minutes, I believe, to be exact. So make sure you are well hydrated, you're comfy, you're cozy, you got maybe some blankets, and you have lots of snacks ready before you hit that play button. And maybe get up to do, I don't know, a bit of stretching somewhere in the middle, because yeah, 4 hours is a long time. We'd be talking about multiple VHSs in the 90s, by the way. I still have a copy of Titanic that's 2 VHSs, I remember. But when it comes to that 4-hour runtime, I do think this film earns it. What were some of your favorite parts or moments from Zack Snyder's Justice League? What were some of your favorite additions or changes to the film? Do you think the film earns the 4-hour runtime in your opinion? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you to stay nerdy, YouTube.